Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the GrindWorks BMX podcast. This is episode 41, and it's with Russel Kaye of Wedgewood Skatepark out in Youngstown, Ohio. I think it's technically Austintown, is what Russell says in this. Doing these, a little bit to just get word out about different parks that are out there, and also to highlight some of the tough times through the coronavirus stuff for different businesses. So hopefully you're enjoying these. I have one more of these planned right now. And beyond that, I don't know that I'm going to keep doing this, especially as we enter into the Pennsylvania green phase, and other parts of the country are probably doing similar where stuff is starting to reopen. So, yeah, this one is Wedgewood Ramps, Russel Kaye, and just check it out. Thanks. Okay, what's up? We are live, sitting in the Wedgewood Ramps lobby, right?
Yep.
Is that what you call this spot?
Yeah, it's the lobby.
All right. And I intentionally didn't do this because I like to call myself out and be stupid, but you and I have talked a bunch of times. I don't know your name.
Russell.
Russell. Okay. I feel like I did know that, but I don't know that.
Russell and Russell.
Okay. That works well. I think you probably already know. My name's Andy.
Andrew, yes.
Yeah. So, you and your dad own and run Wedgewood?
Yes, we lease the space.
Okay. Yeah, you lease the space, you own the park. Okay. So, man, I just kind of brain farted all right at the beginning of this, and it's hilarious and stupid at the same time. So, I've been doing a couple of these. I already told you before we started, but I've been doing a couple interviews with the local parks, mostly because of coronavirus, and I know that it's been a pain for everyone, but that's not the primary reason. Is more about just highlighting, showcasing, and being there for the local scene. So you guys are in Youngstown, Ohio. From me, you're about a little over an hour and a half, a little under. I don't know, right about an hour and a half. Doesn't matter. But that's from Pittsburgh out to here is between an hour and 15 and an hour and a half. So I guess whatever you want to do as far as maybe introducing yourself, introducing the park, however you want to handle that. And then I would say maybe move into when and how did you guys start to exist?
Well, my name's Russell Kaye. We started this when I was real young, so it's hard for me to kind of get back to the roots of that. But to introduce Wedgewood, the name is simple. We're in Wedgewood Plaza, Wedgewood Pizza. It's a hometown heritage. It's a wholesome thing around here, I guess. Ramps, we obviously always had ramps. The vert wall's been here since before me. The spine, the 6 foot, all those are ancient, maybe moved, remodeled in some ways, but the same ramps.
So this was another park before it was Wedgewood, was it not? Do I remember that correctly?
3 other parks, yes. We had Stomping Grounds, Gravity House, and Half Pipe Mike's. That's from newest to oldest.
Okay, so this has been here forever then. It's just,
yeah.
You're the 4th version of the park in this location.
It's a funny way to put it.
That's pretty awesome though. Well, I was going to say Youngstown has a pretty rich history of skate parks and BMX anyway, at least as far back as, Section 8? Is that maybe the oldest one that was out here?
That was before me. Vertigo as well.
Vertigo.
Boardman Vertigo.
Okay. Because I'm not super familiar with my Youngstown history, so.
Yeah, both of those were at least a decade or more. Stomping Grounds was the first skate park that I stepped foot in, which is this building, and that was 2009, I believe.
Okay.
I came Stomping Grounds twice, and then they had shut down. I'd like to say September, the end of September, October 2009, and we got the keys November 2009.
Okay. So you were pretty much, you were pretty young at that point, right? So your
Yeah.
dad was pretty much like, how can we keep this a thing?
For sure. He took the reins there.
It's probably a better question for him, but like, do you know what was motivating that? Was it just that you were into skating at the time?
Definitely. So he had 3 other boys, my brothers. They were at least 7 years older than me, and they were all musicians or hard up lifestyle grunge. So they enjoyed that for the years we were here, and then they passed to their own things at a point, and now I'm the only one left out of the family doing it.
No, that's awesome though, and I mean it makes sense being like that. Did they skate too, or were they not really that into it?
Yeah, bike, board.
Like, okay. You know, it's cool when you stick with it and it's like your thing, because I know you have another job and we'll talk about that in a second, but when you can keep it your thing is really cool and special in a way. But yeah, like you do have another job. You and your dad do commercial painting? Is it commercial? Is it residential?
Both. Industrial, whatever gets thrown at us, honestly. I painted a couple buildings at that point to keep this one going. He's taught me the painting for years as well. Kind of goes hand in hand with skateboarding now.
Yeah.
Got to paint this place.
I don't think it's a secret that skate parks don't really make money. So like, how important is it that you have that other skill and job to like keeping this place afloat? Or, you know, are there times of the year where you can go by with like just the park?
We probably can in the winter time. I would say when we have our good events, midwinter, it really holds its own with the weight. It really does pick up a lot. Right now we're here alone, and it's the end of May.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, jumping ahead a hair, but the whole coronavirus thing really didn't help because it hit everyone at what I would call the end of the good season, where like you probably still had a solid month and a half of making money. And then that got ripped out from under you real quick.
Yeah, it did. It really did. The skate park does really well. Last winter we were doing extraordinary. We were picking up members the week that business had closed. Probably 3 new members. And that was a good basis of revenue in a business aspect. I really enjoyed having something secure instead of wearing to hold a paintbrush or somebody randomly walking through the door. There was people to bet on. Mm-hmm. They were kind of back in that in a way, and I was trying to give them some items. You know, whoever was becoming a member, I wanted to give them things, you know, show that I appreciate that, and I've not got to live up to that yet, but I'm still pushing on that fact.
Mm-hmm. So the painting, I mean, you guys do it all the time, right? You're like painting jobs in the morning and then operating the park mid-afternoon till close?
Yeah.
Pretty normally?
Yeah, it'd be an 8 to 4 paint job, 4 to 10 on a weekday.
Okay.
Is the skate park.
And those are pretty reasonable hours, I would say.
Decent. When I first came here, it was 6 to 10 sessions, and that was a little hard being young, sessions 6 to 10. I think 4 is a little bit easier on the younger crowd, though could always be earlier or later.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure that depending on the day, you're doing what you can to meet the needs of the locals anyway. But do you run like camps out of here, anything like that? Summer camp, try to keep some cash flow, or is that really not something that you're into?
We haven't got that far yet, to be honest.
How long have you had the place in yours? You said 2009, right?
November 2009.
So you've been here 11 years.
Nearly 11 years. This November is 11. Now, 2.5 of those years, we were shut down. May 2011 until December 23rd, 2013. We were down and out. And then a pickup happened until 2015 where we were open, having good business, everything like that. And again, 2015, midway through, we closed for about 6 months and opened back up 2016. So 2.5 out of nearly 11 years we've been.
So what were those shutdowns? I vaguely remember the discussion, I think, with your dad about maybe a fire suppression system or something. Is that right?
Yeah, we definitely ripped out the sprinklers of the ceiling when we took out the ceiling tile. And that was hefty to do. We did get sprinklers back into the ceiling, and we had them rotated upwards so that people weren't in danger when errors had occurred.
Right, because that's not what you want to clip into.
That was major, and that was from 2011 to 2013 was our big thing. Sprinklers, blueprints. They had wanted blueprints for the electric, gas, plumbing, everything. They wanted a full scale of the business as is standing.
That's a lot of investment to do something like that, especially when you're being told that you can't operate as a business. So you're paying rent on a space that you can't use other than maybe like personal use, right, in that time? Or
At that time, we were living here,
okay.
and the skate park was closed. That entire 2-year point, 2.5. We had lived here and did not pay rent for a whole year.
Okay, well, that helps.
When that occurred, we were taken to court. He was taken to court, my dad, and they worked out a deal before they entered the courtroom saying they'll pay more rent a month, pay $500 plus to pay off that X amount that we had owed for the year's rent, and now we've just been pressing on with that set stake increase.
Okay, so it all worked out then. But yeah, I'm sure that helped not paying rent, other than like legal fees and all that nightmare. Whatever. We don't need to go down that road. It's like probably 3-hour long podcast if your dad was in here to really get into the weeds on it and wanted to. And then what was your other shutdown? The one in like 2015.
2015 was an electric problem. We
Okay.
owed about $10,000 in electric, and
Whew.
the landlord had set up that, paid the bill off for us, and we again raised the stakes $500 a month, and we are now set at $2,500 for this section of the building. It was $1,500 starting out.
That's really good for the amount of square footage in an industrial space with high ceilings.
I'm always told by my dad, you're not going to get a house this large for this amount of money. Never could. You could.
If you go to, I don't know how Youngstown is, but I know Pittsburgh pretty well. You would be paying $1,500 a month for a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment downtown. And I was on the outskirts of Pittsburgh, and I was paying $1,100 a month for a 3-bedroom apartment on a 7th floor of a building. So
It's very reasonable.
I
Yeah,
can
we're
also attest to when Tyler and I had the ice house outside of Pittsburgh.
blessed. Okay, yeah, I remember seeing clips.
That space was probably the length of your lobby here, from like your art show on the wall there,
Wow.
to your door. And maybe 1.5 to 2 times the width. It was very small, and we paid $650 a month for that space.
Yeah.
And
Were you in
that
the city?
no, we were out in the country. And we had 8.5-foot ceilings.
Wow. Yeah.
Which, if you build things the right way, that'll work out. Yeah, I know. Look at that guy.
That's crazy.
He can definitely get out of here before he keeps coming down. No, you're just going to keep coming down? For those that are wondering, we're watching a spider descend towards me. I don't really want to hang out with you, dude. You can go back home now.
Oh, that's a spider.
It's definitely a spider. Where are you gonna go? No, you're not coming towards me. All right then.
Fatality.
I'm not a spider guy. Speaking of the ice house, after the ice house, I'm much more of a spider guy. But I had made the joke when we were working on that place that I should call it the spider house. Because when we got in that space, it was packed with shelves, wooden shelves all over the place.
Oh, wood spiders are bad too.
They were the jumping ones. So when you're like getting into tearing these shelves down and you got the spiders that jump 3.5 feet off the ground at you, you're just like,
skin crawling.
It basically got to the point where I would just vacuum them all up.
Yeah.
Because, one, that many spiders in a space, I'm like, all right, there's an underlying problem as to why there's this many spiders here. Because they're not going to hang out where there's no food.
I don't even know what spiders eat. Bugs?
Different types of bugs, some crickets, stuff like that.
We had a real bad rodent problem a long time ago when Luciano's restaurant was next door, and we got a couple cats that hang out. No more rodents coming around.
Mice, rats.
Yeah, they big
Rats.
Big rats, ratatouille.
Rats are funny because people call mice rats that have never seen rats.
When you see a rat, it's a lot different than a little mouse.
You're like, oh, holy crap, that is what a rat is. My parents had a house next door to them that we always knew that the neighbors weren't that clean, but they moved and they were trying to sell their house off just for the property. They knew the house was going to be demoed. But they were moving, and they're like, do you guys want to buy this? And one of their neighbors bought the house, demoed it, just to extend their land. And as soon as they demoed that house, my parents and all the other neighbors started finding rats all over their property. Oh. And it was because they disrupted the home. But they had a lot of rats, and it's really gross when you start seeing, real rats. And the tails alone are like your heavy-duty extension cord there.
Yeah, I know.
I know, I'm bringing back bad memories for you, huh?
I've watched somebody kill a rat right in the building with the skateboard. Just terrible sometimes with the rats. Poor little guy.
Was it bad that you had them, or was it one or two here and there?
It was one or two here and there. It was never infested.
That's good. Yeah, but you got to keep up on it right from the get-go, or else you're going to be so far behind. And
yes, sir.
When you had the park right from the beginning, you obviously inherited a park that already existed. So how do you, go from there? Did you just basically keep the layout the same right at the beginning? Or did you overall?
Yeah, for a while we did keep the skate park layout very similar to how it was laid out before. We did not go about changing ramps 6 months at least. We left it at least 6 months, which isn't a long time, I suppose. We did tear out their shop that was directly in front of us. It's now the Bowl. We now have the Bowl here, but it used to be a skate shop, and that was the entrance. A lot of goodies, old memories found in that shop. Other people's memories, their broken boards, ramps, shoes, this and that. It was kind of creative, cool. A lot of hand-me-down stuff. I used some of the used gear. I used it, man. The first thing we tackled when we first got the skate park, that ceiling tile. We took out that ceiling tile. And that was not me. That was my brothers and my dad.
Was it drop ceiling?
It was
Yeah,
drop
it was all
ceiling.
ceiling
People
in here.
had been here. They marched on us about asbestos. They wanted us saying it's not family friendly. We should not take out the ceiling tile unless we're gonna get a professional help. We just got a load up, roll off dumpster, filled that up. I mean, my dad's been in construction his whole life. My brother, little kid, starting out in construction. They love getting dirty like that. That was a big change. Everything just unfolded, and it all was unraveling before me, and I didn't even try to handle anything. I let it be the way it was. The bowl afterwards was a big idea. That was our first big idea, and it's hurt that it never.
Well, I was gonna say, it almost seems like this grand idea that's always plagued you, almost.
Yes, it has. I've gotten a lot of backlash, you could say, about the bowl. We've tossed the idea of tearing it out, scrapping the wood, salvaging, rebuilding. I don't know what I'd put behind the 6-foot.
What's it missing, right? It's missing coping and maybe a
top layer.
top layer?
Yeah, some of the foundation layer is now cracked, broken. Not too big of a deal. I'm getting into it more as I'm getting older. You know, I like to build ramps. I like to paint. I just that's active lifestyle. It's good stuff. But I do see the bowl as a good thing. I've heard old heads tell me if I get it, we'll bring a bunch of people. We'll all shred. You gotta have a contest. Maybe the future holds something bright.
Well, I kind of can't believe for how many people that have come to this park over the years that have been probably considered locals, and even people that pass by, there's got to be someone that has the ability to bend and weld coping that could have offered the help.
Yeah, I'm looking for that help.
And I mean, the bending tubing isn't all that hard. You can, go to Harbor Freight and buy a nice tubing bender.
Yeah.
But the skill to weld and grind it flush and clean and know how to connect it, where to connect it, put all your anchor supports in for it and whatnot, that's a skill. And I'm sure there's someone that could do that comes here and probably actively complains about that bowl not being done. So it's kind of funny in a way, because I think I've been coming out here maybe 4 or 5 years now, on and off.
Sweet.
And it's never been done, obviously, but it's funny that it goes back about 10 years that it's probably been sitting here.
2011.
Okay, 9. So we'll say 9 years of people complaining and not helping. So it's just funny to me.
It was solely my idea and my task to carry on.
I don't know. I mean, anyone listening to this, someone is a mediocre at best welder that can get this done. Let's wrap this project up.
Yep, finish it out. Get this room done. Start the new room.
Because you're right. If that can get done, then your bowl is done.
This will have a complete feeling, this whole environment in this section of the skate park. There's a lot of ramps around us. There is some flat ground that could have more ramps, though it's unnecessary at that point. A lot of the ground is filled and used. Mm-hmm. The space is occupied.
Yeah, and I mean, for the most part, some people may or may not disagree with any of this, but I don't think your ramp spacing is all that dense, but I wouldn't move stuff closer together just to squeeze another box jump in the middle either. You got a nice vert wall, you've got a long and low box, you have a proper box, and then you have a quarter after it. And if you moved it all together, it's going to feel crappy. And then that's just the center section, obviously, but I don't know. I'm a huge fan of tight ramps and tiny jibby stuff, but I wouldn't feel right in that space. Your new space that that you're working on, you could totally do a whole bunch of stuff in there.
Yeah, I want to get into how that will be more street style, street course, but the main thing I hear about the room we're in right now is that the flow of this is what really holds everything together. This has a good style of flow, the way you can ride the whole room all at once.
I call that the early 2000s layout.
Okay.
And knowing that the park existed in previous formats before you guys acquired it in 2009, that makes perfect sense that it would be the early 2000s layout.
Yeah, I guess it does.
And what I mean by that is ramps that are set up in line and side by side. So you can do side to side transfers, you can just hit the box line straight. It's not like when you go to a new park, and a lot of outdoor parks are good examples of this. They're set up so that only one person can ride the entire park at once.
I felt that today.
And it's like all of these features could be cool, but they don't really work together. And if one dude is skating or riding that section, it still blocks me from riding the park. Like, I could ride this feature if all I wanted to do was drop in and like U-turn halfway down the park, but like they're building everything, and I think it's intentional, but they're building it to not have flow. And
It's a hallway. It's like hallways, and if you block any part of that hallway, the whole park's flow is disrupted.
so what that does for you is it eliminates unforeseen accidents. If you design your park to intentionally not flow, then people don't crash into each other as much.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But it's counterintuitive to what anyone going to a skate park wants. So I would agree with you as far as like, yeah, the room itself flows really well. I would say that it's funny that your background is skating, but it's a very BMX layout as far as having the box jump and the street spine, and even like across your long and low, you've got the slanted wall ride. Like it's a very BMX layout.
Yeah.
Is that because of your primary user group, or is your primary user group skaters, scooters? What's your like demographics, or do you not really know?
Well, there's a few factors that definitely apply to that. Our BMX contests, great. You've sponsored a couple of them now, I believe, and they go swimmingly. They're amazing. I love that. I love the atmosphere when we have those. I want to have many more of those. I can't get the skate community to interact the way that I get people to walk in the door riding a bicycle compared to skateboards. And I'm just going to have to vibe with who's buzzing about that. On another note, going related to that, the BMX riders locally definitely putting in a lot of hard work, staying here. Late 2018, they were, throwing in nighters where they were building ramps. They had a lot to say with what changed in this park. The long and low that you said, I can't even jump that. It's a 13-foot box on the top deck. That is huge for me on a skateboard. I have jumped the 10, but that was still a far gap.
It's probably at the point where it's not that fun. It's not that you couldn't do it, but it's not going to be fun.
I need to wear some pads if I'm going to
just shoot it just to have it done. It almost sucks when you wake up and you like stare at it, because every day you look at it and
big
you're like,
intimidating.
Like, I really just need to check that off the list.
They helped so much, though, for sure. BMX has built a lot. I remember a long time ago we had a pretty good skate scene going on, and we had a build day before this bowl was sitting here. There was a lot of skaters involved that day, They built a new grind box, as well as resheeting some of the ramps, taking down some old stuff to recreate anew. Somewhere along the way, I lost that touch. I don't know if I didn't have skate contests as much, games to skate. I still got skate appreciation through all-nighter lock-ins. I sometimes get crowds like that, which was great to have a skate community. Skate day, that always pops off nice, like, especially if you're giving out free shirt, free skateboard, something like that.
Yeah. Free anything and people will show up.
Yeah, free food and whatever. A lot of the criticism that's constructively thrown at me from skateboarders is about more of a street course setup, more rails. We only have one rail right now, that A-frame up-down, and that was built for the other A-frame.
Yeah, I remember you only had that for a very short period of time, that other A-frame on this half of the park.
Somebody randomly came in, had been paid to build that. It was kind of thrown together fast-like, but the rail was healthy. That rail is healthy, and it got used.
That rail is quite aggressive.
I need to get some of them legs out of that rail, too. If we find a welder or cutoff wheel, I don't know if a cutoff wheel would really be the best, but maybe a belt sander and a cutoff wheel I could.
Yeah, I mean, you want to get some of the legs off for what purpose? Just because?
Probably.
Or is it like weight alone?
No, I'm thinking pegs on a bike. It has about 5 legs on the rail, and the rail is only 8 foot on either side.
You probably don't need them, but it is better than having the rail bend down in a section and then you're like hating it.
It was made locally by somebody who bends pipe, welds. They were not in the scene. They didn't know exactly the format. And when the rail appeared, it was as is.
Yeah, it's aggressive. Like, it's steep. It's a little, not that it's too tall, but it's a little bit taller than you want it to be.
We cut it down, too. But that old A-frame was taller than the one we have now. And that was my favorite rail on that A-frame. I used to love hitting that one. It's a real good time.
That A-frame, if I remember correctly, it had a peak on one side and a gap on the other, right?
And then a steep hip on the corner side. Very funny looking, yeah.
Yeah, but it was cool.
It's pretty cool, yeah.
That's the key sometimes, is that it was cool. I feel like you have another thing that, like, the layout here being like it is with the side-to-side transfers gives you types of ramps you can't just go to a different park and ride right now. And that's one thing that I think you see a lot of people that build parks. They build what's working at other parks. And it's like, okay, well, if I already have these ramps and this setup in Pittsburgh, why would I drive out here to ride that? And I think it's cool that, like, you can see pictures or clips at Wedgewood, and one, you know it's Wedgewood. It's not like blasted with 8,000 sponsors painted on the ramps, and it looks like every other park does right now. And it doesn't have the same ramps as every park. So, like, I think that's cool. The only thing that I've heard people say, and I mean, I can attest to in some spots, some of the transitions are janky. And some of that might be by design. Some of it might be that you've had the same ramp frames recycled for 10 plus years.
Oh, yeah.
And patched together here and there.
Heck, yeah.
And some of it might be like, hey, we built this early on and I didn't know what I was doing. So,
yeah, even now it's still a learning curve all the way through. I always try to challenge myself. A couple of things you said there. I am trying to brand the skate park. I would like to add logos to the ramps. I haven't got sponsors, big names, much like that. But to brand ourselves is a good business-minded attack. The ramp construction, the ramp building, some of it is, most all is salvaged. A fun fact about the A-frames, that old A-frame, I tore it down, salvaged all the 2x6s and here and there, rebuilt the new A-frame with the skeleton of the old A-frame. It's all the same lumber, same rail, just different transition now.
Yeah, it's mellower banks, right?
It is much more mellow. Same length of slope though, 8-foot length, and then
Okay.
it's only 20 inches tall now, where it was 2 foot tall before.
Okay, so it's only 4 feet lower, but
Or 4 inches lower.
yeah, four.
It might have been
4 feet.
Actually, it might have been above knee high, like 32 or something before.
I
I'm sorry.
remember it was pretty steep.
It was steep.
It was fun when you did like tricks over it, but hitting something that steep to a rail that's equally as steep down on the other side was terrifying.
Yeah. I had skaters come in and say, I'm not even going to touch that thing. And it is what it is. I'm happy they still come and enjoy parts of the park.
Well, and it's all a learning curve for you too. Like you build something you think is cool, and when it's not received well, you're like, well, all right, check that one off the list.
Yep.
Like,
Keep it going. Keep it pushing.
we'll do more cool things next time, I guess.
Yeah, that rolling, that 9-foot rolling that's over there was a part of the W spine ramp we had before, the mini with the spine in it.
I remember that.
We cut that down, and it had a 4-foot template of a quarter pipe. It had about 3.5, 4-foot quarter pipe there, and we placed that, and then we just built a hump going from that quarter pipe to the decking of. So it was a shot in the dark to just trace with the Sharpie marker how we're gonna cut this ramp out and use it. Some people won't touch the ramp. Some people they love it. They love the speed. I really do enjoy the speed coming off of that rolling. It changed the whole game for the flow of this section. It's something I'll probably stay there for a while. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's cool. And I think I don't have a problem with it too. Like some people complain, like we're talking about some of the jankier transitions.
That's named it right there.
I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I tend to like tight and weird stuff. So, like,
cool.
You can embrace the fact that, like, this isn't perfect. And it speaks to, like, I feel like some people should like that it's just DIY ethic, too. And that you've been making it happen for 11 years now. How many parks have been open 11 years? Exactly. There's not that many. But it wouldn't be that difficult to call up a professional ramp builder and be like, hey, we really want something done for this. And, you know, they come in and they build something pristine, but, like, that doesn't do a lot for you as the park owner because now you still don't know how to build that ramp.
I didn't learn much besides what I'll have to pay.
And, like, we'll go back to the bowl discussion too. Like, that's a hefty undertaking because bowl corners are not easy.
I still have yet to even attempt to make a bowl corner myself. I've seen it in person with this crazy old carpenter that was here doing it, and his corners on this layer that we ride now, they're wavy, they're janky. That's another holds to the name of it ramp. Though with another layer, possibly 2, it'll smoothen out, I believe.
That's the thing is you can build a pretty janky ramp, but by the time you put 3-4 layers of ply on it, it's like it's pretty well smoothed out. Or each layer cracks every time you ride it, and then you just keep slapping layers on it till it doesn't crack anymore.
Yeah, that vert wall in the middle of it is whack. That's wild. I just don't know what to think of it. I haven't known.
The big vert wall you're talking.
This one in the bowl over here. This one is.
I don't know that I've ever actually looked at it close enough.
That's what I'm saying. Nobody even wants to like deal with that vert wall. Maybe we'll make it a tombstone on top of the half.
You know what though? Have you ever skated Kona?
I have not. I can't say I have.
Okay. So the iconic tombstone that you're thinking of when you think of Kona is terrible. And everyone still loves it. So anyone listening won't see this, but that ramp comes up and there's the quarter pipe, the bowl. Like the bowl is pretty good. And then it rolls out at the top, all around it. It's like a little roll-in.
Mm-hmm.
It rolls out before the tombstone, and then they tranny it back up.
Bumps.
Oh, it's like whoop. And then it goes up, and it's curved. It's like a bowl corner.
Wow.
And then on top of that, it looks like it's got a deck on it, but it's just a sea of brick, of block. So there's no deck other than the 8-inch cinder block up top. So anything that you've ever seen on that thing, when the first time you skate or ride it, you're like, oh my God, this thing is so bad. I don't know how any of that stuff got done.
That's impressive. I'm definitely going to take a closer look next time.
And like, if I can pull one up without totally losing my train of thought here and find a picture of it, you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about right now. Give me 2 seconds and I will find right there.
Kona Tombstone.
You can see how curved it is, like a bowl corner, and how bad the transition is at the bottom.
That's a serious ramp. I see what you're talking about with the cinder blocks too. The way you...
Yeah, it looks like you got a
assume that
4-foot
there would
deck
be a
up there,
deck
but
up
there is
there.
not. That was a very surprising moment when I rode that.
That really reminds me of the bump to wall we had when we first got this building. The 2 6-foot quarters, you would channel gap over top of them, but they had that whoopy bump to wall. It went up to the vert. It was so hard to skate that thing. I'd never seen anybody really do something impressive on it because it was terrible, to be honest. In my opinion, it was just terrible. But the channel gap was very cool. And
I probably don't know exactly what you're talking about, but that's fine to envision anyway. How many versions of the park would you say there's been? And I guess that would be like major overhaul. So I would say that finished or not, like adding the bowl is a pretty major overhaul.
Yeah, there was like our starting point. There was a shop, completely different than anything we've seen here. That was V1. Taking that shop, removing it, and having this 6-foot sit right in the middle of this room, that was a big overhaul because at that point the ceiling tile had been removed. It was move-in time where we were about to rip out sprinklers and do all kind of illegal shit. Moving that 6-foot was incredible to see people pick up, I want to say, underneath the quarter pipes and roll coping.
Yep.
The length of the 6-foot, and the 6-foot was pushed on coping about 4 foot forward, maybe 8 foot forward, because it was probably sitting 10 foot from us, and now it's 20 foot almost. So that was completely changing. And there was just a little street section right here, all kind of flat ground area, all kinds. And we got that other room as well. There was a shirt maker next door to us. They were a little flea market thing. Banged out that wall all at the same time. So it was V1 with the little shop, the old school stomping ground style, what everybody had claimed us to be stomping grounds. But after that wall was removed and the 6-foot was pushed forward, ceiling tile was ripped out, that was definitely a V2. The Youngstown wall, that was definitely another version of the skate park at that point because that's when I started really getting traction on social media where people were picking up, giving us attention, messages of like appreciation for more than just locals, grunge, the down under. It was actual people like, wow, this place it's a part of this now, it's here. I'm glad that all happened. We got those jump boxes. That was a change too. That was after the Youngstown wall, I'd like to say, with kind of how it is now. Mm-hmm. But some of those boxes, there was a wedge to wedge, and then the jump boxes before.
Yeah, I remember when you had like the up across down pyramid with the grind box all the way across it.
And we just kind of turned that, and we're using it on the left side of the skate park instead of the midway. It's funny we hear the overhead.
I don't know if it'll pick up or not, but
That's funny. He's always talking. Those are definitely three different versions, and I could say we're into a fourth right now, where we're at getting a totally new, double the space. We had 23,000, and now we're at 43,000 square foot. The rent has been doubled. It's just all stakes were doubled. You get everything, double up.
You have front door now too.
Yes.
You're no longer going to be the sketchy side door skate park.
That's one of the biggest opportunities we were given purchasing that section. And I've been questioned recently, can you afford this? It's a shot in the dark. A lot of this has been. And they say if you do lose, are you going to give up both, or are you going to give up one section? And that I don't pick a plan B, but I would move everything from this room over to that room if that's what it was going to take, and downsize.
How
They have heat.
tall are your ceilings in this room right now?
To the rafter.
What's that?
To the rafter?
Yeah, to the rafter. Is it
16.
16?
16 foot.
Okay, so I mean that's fairly low for a skate park. And we were saying like to the drop tile in the other room that we were looking at is probably 2 to 3 feet lower.
Yeah, that pole right there. I think he measured it at 14, so it's not much of a loss. It's good for insulation too. I mean, that ceiling tile, it was solid. Like, I think that's a great idea for the other room. There's a heater back there for the wintertime, keep everybody kind of the edge off at least.
14's not bad as long as you don't have spines and box jumps.
Yeah.
Which I don't think you intend on having over
What would
on
you
that
say
side.
highest quarter you could get in that is?
Here, I always look at it, if you had a 6-foot quarter in a 12-foot room, you would be touching helmet on the deck when you stood on the deck. Like you'd be scraping helmet on the ceiling. Now, with that being said, airing a quarter pipe, you're always canted a little bit. So you could pretty much air a 6-foot quarter in a 12-foot room 2 to 3 feet without slamming the ceiling. You might graze it. Basically, with a 14-foot, I wouldn't probably go above a 6 because people will hit it.
That room, I was not planned to go above 6.
But 5 would probably be good for what it looks like your plan is in there, roughly.
Sure.
In the ice house, we had 8.5.
Ooh, that went to the ceiling.
Well, no.
I thought you meant a quarter.
No. Well, I had a vert wall that did go to the ceiling, but it was a 4-foot transition. So what that did for us was it gave you that like weightless feel, and you could turn around on it, you could air it, you could cut and lose speed really well because it was tight enough that you could anti-pump it good, but not tight enough that it was like running into a wall. You know, if you had done a 5-foot quarter, 5-foot vert wall in an 8.5-foot space, you would have hit the ceiling every time you went on that wall. But the 4 was like, it gave you enough room to play, and it was still fun.
We were envisioning the same thing here with that room. If we do any type of vert wall, give it a sharp transition, so they're going to have a hard time getting above 8 foot high on that vert wall. I was thinking something along those lines.
You could probably get away with like you could do a 5 on that and be able to blast it up into the 14-foot range without going through the ceiling. But if you start going high on a 4-foot, it feels like you're landing flat every time, which is fair because you are.
Yeah.
I was actually just having this conversation with my buddy Brad, who's building a mini ramp in his backyard. And he's putting a vert wall on the side of his shed, and he's like, I want to peg the top of it, but it's like 11 and 13 feet. And I'm like, dude, you need like a 6-foot tranny to do that.
Yeah.
Or else you're really going to be like looking for it, trying to get up that high. And when you pull back in on it, it's just not going to feel fun. Like you're going to fall to flat.
Free fall.
If you pull into a 6-foot off of that, like you're going to drop for a little ways, but you're still going to catch tranny. But yeah, I mean, I think you'd easily be able to get away with a 5 in there. 5 would probably be about the max you'd want to do just just to keep people away from blasting into your ceiling.
Yeah. I'd love to get some back to the basics in that room. I know that it needs to be unique. Got a little scrutiny on that. Somebody on Instagram attacking just building a manu pad. Though I sold our old one. But I'd really like to have a concrete butter ledge there. I'm not good with concrete, never really dabbled, played too much, but just basic little vert walls, maybe a 4 foot, 5 foot transition like you're speaking, going up 2 different walls and a long butter ledge in the middle of it, just let people go. As far as I could build it along the wall, but I don't know how long one of the best situation wall would be there. Ideally about 20 feet. That would be crispy to get that slide in there. I would really love that.
When we had the ice house, I'll show you some pictures. We had a 2-stack ledge. We had one that was 12 inches tall and one that was 24.
Yep.
And the 24 foot, I keep saying foot. Yeah, 24 inches was 16 feet long, and the 12 foot long, or the 12 inch tall was 12 feet long. So you had 2 feet on both ends of overlap on the tall ledge. And then I had some little bumper ramps, like different wedges and like kickers to put on the ends to cap in there so you could get up onto the tall one.
Like a wedge to wedge.
But they were also cut into 2 pieces that were 2 feet wide each. And they were the right length to stand vertically to have little tight walls up onto the ledge. So you could do jammers up on.
That's
which
interesting.
Is real fun. I'll show you what I had because you might like some ideas. And
yeah, always want to get something new flowing in so I keep it going.
I'm also down to help. Not that that needs to be on here, but
right on.
Like I'm
yeah,
only an hour and 15 away, and I've got all the different tools that I need. So, because I basically built an arsenal of woodworking tools just to run my own little mini park.
Yeah, nicely put too. Yeah, we got a couple things. I'm missing a chop saw for real. I'd really enjoy to have a good set thing to hold all the lumber that I'm chopping up with this skill saw, kneeling on it, doing it all. It gets to be a little overwhelming.
I did one ramp with a jigsaw.
Yeah.
No, I did one ramp with a sawzall, and I was like, nope, forget that, buying a jigsaw right now.
Yeah. My dad loves the sawzall.
The sawzall gives you really lumpy transitions. The jigsaw gives you like the cleanest cuts I've ever done. Like when I have the opportunity to, and it's not a long cut, I'll use a jigsaw instead of my circular saw.
Yeah. For the fine-tuned cuts, I like the little jigsaw a lot.
Jigsaw is amazing.
Any little coping cuts are real cool to integrate with that.
But yeah, that's been like my favorite tool. I did just recently buy a router, which it's funny when you start looking at like, well, what am I going to do this for? And it's like as far as dropping sections out when you need to put like cross members in or even hand holes, you can drill a hole and jigsaw it, or you can drill a hole, make a little guide frame around it, and you just router your hole out. And it's so easy.
Oh, yeah? Okay, I'll have to look into that.
I think the Harbor Freight router was like pretty cheap, $60 or something.
Yeah.
But no, it's like funny when you start thinking of different ways to drop stuff. You're like, oh, why was I doing it the hard way? Yeah, I bought most of that stuff for building a desk that I recently did. And it's like, oh, well, if I did it that way, that would have been way nicer.
The right tools at hand.
Yeah. And the only reason I bought the router was to round off my desk. Because I didn't want the sharp edge of the ply. I want to touch back to like as we're talking, and you know, people have their comments whether it's good or bad or whatever, but I don't think anyone can listen to this and think that you're not in it for the love of the park. And that like if they had legit issues and they wanted to be like, hey, we'd really like to see this, like it sounds like you're pretty open to suggestions, but at the same time, like it's tough to sit here and have someone come in and go, oh, well, what you should have built was blah, blah, blah. And you're like,
oh, yeah.
Hey, dickhead.
I knew that was coming.
Maybe you should have been here like the 50 times before when I was asking people what we should have. Or when you have a cool idea, pitch it.
For sure. I got a message from one of our members, and I get lost along the way is where I'm going to get to with this. He had sent me a little wedge-to-wedge photo. He was like, we need to get some basic essentials like this. And it was just up, down, over, wedge, slope, whatever you'd like to call it, with a rail in the center. Very basic. I don't have that many rails. I could understand why they want to do that. While I built that wedge over there, you seen it? Instead of putting a rail down the middle, I put another hubba up against the wall. Not that nobody likes hubbas, but along the way, sometimes I get lost in like what other people would want me to build it like. You know, people were telling us a long time ago, maybe you should make a bowl and all that section. And then we did, and it might not have turned out the way people had imagined a bowl to be, but it's just like sometimes you get lost along the way. Sometimes it's happy accidents, but there's a medium in there where everybody gets satisfied to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And that's good for like anybody contributing. I love to hear what they have to say for sure. When they're attacking me about it, I love to just joke with them because it's not that serious.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I can invest everything and still never satisfy.
Well, if you took, let's put it this way, if you took every moron's idea that came out of their mouth and slapped it into one park, it would be a pile of garbage. So there's a lot of selective reasoning that needs to come out of any of that, where you're like, all right, that idea is cool. Let me think on it and marry it with these other ideas and come up with something that's going to work for Wedgewood and the space I'm trying to fill right now.
I really enjoyed when the BMX riders came in, locals. They had a group, they had a team. They knew what essentials they wanted to put in, and that was cool when they attacked it like
was that like Anthony and Tyler and those guys, right?
Greg, Nick Welsh, among others. There was probably 8 to 15 in total.
Oh, so they hammered some stuff out then.
We were talking, Nick and Anthony were here late night just throwing them back and blowing some shit. And they got to the quarter with the sub box. They put a steep bank on top of it.
Yeah, I think that was a pretty good change.
Seven stair, yeah. The sub box was a ridiculous idea. I was coming up with some creative stuff on it, but it's way better the way it is now. I don't see any skate park that has that with coping on top. And they told me that. They've never seen the coping on top. They were like, we're putting the coping at the top because we don't see this. And I'm like, dude, that's cool. And now I've done a lot of cool shit. I've thoroughly enjoyed what they've made right there. The Euro gap over top of what we had before, it was that 3-stair janky deck to 3-stair.
I remember.
That was a great concept. If I would have like branched some slopes in there and got some bends or something to slap you up onto, but
you did have the giant hubba down at one point, and that thing was pretty
crazy. Awesome. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, tricking onto that was serious. Like anybody that hit that thing was about it.
Yep.
That was just a horrible design that I had created, though, for real. That 3-stair thing, a lot of little street shit came out of it. It was good times. Skaters kind of appreciated it, but it was not, in reality, the way I envisioned it.
Probably wasn't ultimately good for a park layout, but, like, at the same time, sometimes you just, like, if you have an idea, you got to execute on it and then live with the nightmare that comes out of it for a little while, because if you just tore it back down, like, you wouldn't have really learned all that much from it.
Right. It got its use. It was abused anyways. It was its time to go at that point, and I'm glad that we have that Euro sitting there.
Yeah, the Euro's cool.
It's a solid ramp. Solid part of the whole section now. I appreciate what they did there. My personal opinion, the long and low box, I love that thing when it was just the 8-foot shooter.
The 8-foot pyramid, right? Or was
jump
it,
box.
Was it the little jump box?
There was a 10-foot with an 8-foot, and that was the best to jump all 4 of those. The 8-foot driveway, 10-foot driveway, and then it's like this jump box, but almost duplicated, or the OG jump box, the original jump box with a steeper landing. And I thoroughly enjoyed jumping all 4 of those boxes, come back to the 6-foot, hit the spine, the little jump box. That was a great run. The long and low, though, it looks like it's good for bikes. You mentioned it. I mean, it stands out to bikes. It's something unique. That's why it's kind of like a bike park. And I've been told I own a bike park and I'm a skateboarder. Though, but if skateboarders are scared to ride the ramps, I can't help that.
I was going to make the comment, what does that even mean? Like, it's like skate park is like when people call a tissue a Kleenex, and you're like, it still means it's a tissue, man. It's like, it's just a generic term at this point. So like,
it is. I agree with that.
I would say you don't own a bike park, because a bike park is more like Ray's or the Wheel Mill, where there's a lot of pallet type stuff and it's mountain bike oriented. Yeah.
Or some 2x4s.
Well, I mean, like some sheet metal maybe, but yeah, no, exactly. The 2x4 like pallet style ramps, which like they're cool and they work good, and if you're good, you can probably skate them anyway.
I would like to try, but I'd never get to. I don't think.
Go push the box jump room at the Wheel Mill.
The Wheel Mill, they have.
Their whole pump track you can skate too, and it's like, because it's all plied to the floor and everything, and like that's fun, but your legs are about to fall off by the time you're done.
I noticed some of their ramps don't have sheet metal, right?
Yeah, not all of them. They've tried to be a little bit better about some of that, because they are skateboarder friendly.
I heard that you can ride a skateboard. I was told, go try it out, and I just haven't made the drive.
Yeah, and it's like they allow it, and then like certain parts of the park, it was like, well, we'd like to skate that too. And it's like, we never had sheet metal on those particular ramps.
Little hand sander. I tried that on the kicker. We didn't have enough sheet metal. I was low on funds, so I took a little hand belt sander and sanded down that plywood until you could just roll right up it, and that actually works well.
Yeah.
Surprisingly well.
Even when it's just a 1/4-inch sheet of ply on like a tranny ramp too that you're coming up, like as long as you're running decent sized wheels, like you're not even going to be, if you have the 90s wheels on, you're not going to be able to skate
45
that ramp.
millimeters with all you see is a bearing.
Yeah. But no, as long as you're riding like a mediocre size wheel, it's not even going to bother you that there's, you just kind of ease up on your knees a hair, and like any skilled skateboarder can deal with it within
those
2
cruiser
minutes.
wheels that are soft, they could probably absorb all that impact that you're about to
you probably pump right into it and just like stuff it, and it's not going to feel it.
That's the best part about the sport, is that it's always sketchy. It's got you out of your comfort zone. That's really a good place to stay.
People always complain about stupid stuff too, and it's just like we were talking about with the bowl. Like, somebody knows someone, or someone comes here that could easily rectify that situation if they wanted to help.
I've had offers.
Especially if it's like, hey man, you get all the metal and I'll have that coped up in a week, and you're like,
that would be a blessing if somebody actually did that. But it was usually for money when I got an offer.
Of course.
They always something for labor. And I do jobs for labor all the time, even friends. So I mean, I understand wanting money for labor. It's just financially, I wish I was better off than just painter to skate park owner. We do have that new renter I mentioned, and that's cool. Little skate shop, Lethal Skate Shop.
Yeah,
I think they're
little sublet. Lethal Skate.
Lethal Skate, I think they're going with. That's cool. I just want to get more people involved like that, whether it's a storage space or if they could find a garage in the back, something like that. Cars. My dad loves working on the classics or being around bikes. It'd be great to get more of a community like that outside of just skateboarding and BMX, scooter, blading, whatever it may be, musically involved. We did have musicians that rented out the park when I was real young. It was always at a low cost, and it was real dopey. It wasn't very upright with the business. And these skate shop guys, they're better off now, the way they're going about business compared to how we've involved others before. And I think that's a good step forward for us business-mindedly.
That's a nice learning curve anyway when you're talking business, like, especially if you don't have a business degree. Like, learning to operate a business and make good business decisions is
Gonna make a lot of bad ones.
yeah, but you almost have to. And if you didn't, you wouldn't know why you were making good ones.
Yeah.
As far as music and like other stuff goes, like I see that in February you had an art show.
Yeah, that was good community thing. It was good for the vendors. I didn't have a bad amount of vendors. We actually had 10 plus sitting up top of that little spectator deck with the 9-foot roller. And that was cool. It was cold then. They didn't want to sit there all day vending, but we had candles, pictures, homemade objects, clothing, a couple different clothing things, vintage, It was art though. It was all about art, whether it was the scent of it, the look of it, the feel. I mean, it was really cool the way they had that, as well as the riding. When you showcase a couple good riders that day, we had graffiti artists spray paint The Simpsons that night, and that was a whole vibe, the way you could videotape and have people selling clothes, people spray painting, and skate park doing its thing. People said I got to do it again, though one fault there was not enough for somebody who was just entering the building paying $5 to get in. It was $5 at the door. Rider, not rider, anything. Just being at the art show is $5. Vendors are $5. It didn't matter whether you're buying or selling. It was just set rate for every person. Everybody was the same. And if we had acoustic music, if we had a little bit more of a vibe with something to stand around and do, we had some food. It was cool to walk around, look at art, eat food. But it wasn't such a gallery as in now. If I have it, you could see that it would multiply with that front hallway, putting the art down that front hallway, little cater section up top, and the front and center. It's AC, it's heat up front. So like that front hallway is gonna be great all year round. Hot, you'll be cold. In the cool, you'll be warm. It'll be great to showcase all their art there, and then in the back really start raging with bands and boards and bikes.
You can have a whole Xbox room up there right now.
Yeah.
There's obviously the skate series. There's that BMX game out, Pipe, you could have on, and then there's Skater XL is coming out now.
July.
I know that's out on PC, and I haven't played it on there, even though I should. But yeah, that's going to be a pretty sweet one to have.
I'm looking forward to that.
And the new, well, it's not new, but the remake of Tony Hawk that everyone's probably going to hate. Because it's like, I think everyone just forgot what a Tony Hawk game was, and they want it to be skate, but it's not.
Yeah, I went back to Tony Hawk, and it's difficult.
I bought Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 when it came out, and it was just like so counterintuitive to backplay that with like just holding and releasing A to ollie.
I remember.
And you're just like, ooh, not what I want to be doing. Like the flick is so much more intuitive.
I agree with that. I felt like I was going back in time playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5.
And I think people just forgot what a Tony Hawk game was, and that's why they didn't like it. But like, I felt like I got exactly what I paid for and should have gotten with that game. Not that it was like good, and I wasn't particularly stoked on it, but it didn't bum me out either.
No, I played it for a little while.
There
It got its time in.
plenty of corny stuff going on because it's a Tony Hawk game.
Yeah.
But we're like way off track there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to change gears a little bit and go back to one more question about the park. And it relates to what we were talking about different, different versions of the park. But how has your vision of the park changed over time? Like, I guess what you wanted it to be and what you want it to be now.
I kind of got what I wanted it to be. At first, we were trying to have an apartment above the front door right here. And that's one reason we got shut down. There was no sprinklers underneath this, as well as ceiling tile and a lot of illegal going around. That's not a problem.
Yeah, whatever.
The vision I have now has gotten to expand because in the new area, there's a whole house on top of that old thrift store, and so I get to be there. You know, I get to live there. I get to have a kind of a wholesome life while still paying for this place, even though all the stakes are doubled in every way, the space and the price of it. The vision really has changed now into a real business. There's been a lot of skate park don't make money. How could you survive? Are you gonna paint the rest of your life? The vision is changing to be more involved with somebody I don't even know yet. I'm looking to really get some good connections going with different people of any sort, whatever they're doing. It really has no limitation because there's space, and I don't really have a use for some of the space. And that's not somewhere we've ever been with this building when we were renting it. It was never available to anybody else to really have part of it, besides small rooms, like $100 room. But somebody could drop loads of money now, you know, a stack of cash a month to have a manufactory out the back of the place. And I really don't know how to make that happen, but that's where I'm trying to look into now. Like, I'm trying to focus in a vision of more of a business-minded outlet to a mall, like a central mall, like a plaza, like rip out the ceiling and put a skylight, and then put some lights with plants that are really gonna photosynthesize from the ceiling skylight, like that. I don't know, it's just a dream. At that point, I could dream all day about putting a gate up where our door is now, the side gate, and using this outside parking lot that everybody is always parked in as a little outdoor park that's fenced in and everything.
Yeah.
The vision really, we could have a free thing out there or fenced in or whatever, and there's a lot of different places to go with it. I get a lot of different ideas from a lot of different friends, and I don't know where to take it yet. So I'm just letting it.
Yeah, well, that space is somewhat overwhelming, like you were kind of talking about before we started recording. Like, doubling your space seems cool until you're like, what do I even do with this?
Never thought there could be too much space. Like, how do I fill up all of this? What do I even do in this business to stock all these different bay areas, these storage rooms? There's plenty of storage area back there, garage space, whatever factory type works that could be made up of. Being closed now, the way we got closed, we really had to think differently too. We had to think about, if we're not gonna be allowed to open to a public, like a bowling alley or a movie theater. A movie theater can't just admit anybody in, take whatever money. You know, we really started digging deeper into, are we gonna have to build things and ship them out the door? Are we gonna make a workshop in the back?
Yeah.
There's plenty of space for any crazy idea of a sort like that. Conference rooms with the media or TV rooms.
Yeah, well, there's a handful of cool ideas, and I'll try to save them for off mic so that people don't steal them from you or from me.
Yeah.
But how long were you shut down, or are you shut down? I don't know Ohio's dates. I know Pennsylvania was March 15th. I think was when everything got pretty much on hold. Like, everyone is forced to shut down. Is that about the same for you?
Yes, we put a deposit on a new space before March 15th, but by March 15th, coronavirus had wiped out abolished everything. We were not allowed to be. We called, tried to talk to local authorities saying, can we pursue? And they said, we will fine you if you open that door. But March 17th, everything flipped around. I mean, by March 20th, this year, March 20th, I was getting letters from zoning saying, you got to get that generator out of the parking lot. You remember us running the generator out of a van? We were running we were running the lights off a generator. None of those wires are there. We don't have no wire for the window no more. It's not janky like that. It's fully fully got a course of electric going on. And that was amazing that March 17th we were able to flip all the utilities and turn on the plugs, turn on the heat, everything. That the art show just happened at the end of February. By mid-March we're shut down. By the end of March we have the heat and everything that we were missing when we were open. So it's like a lot of things have evolved as nobody has seen this really, I mean, I show a few friends, but people walk in and their jaw is just still getting picked up off the floor, and mine was like stuck for a good time because it is overwhelming. I show old friends and they don't even skate anymore, but they're like, I would have a minor panic attack if I had to think about what you have this now, what are you going to do with it? And that's really what the conflict inside myself is with that. It's there. What can happen?
So Ohio has been a little bit more like, I'm going to call it liberal, but it's kind of ironic because it's a Republican governor, and
it's all mixed up.
It's super weird, right? That the Republicans are being liberal about this. But no, it does make sense. That it's more business oriented than like health and social oriented. So Ohio has been pretty much open back up, right? I mean, what is Ohio's stance? What are your restrictions right now?
I don't follow politics too much. The focal points I do get touched upon are Cedar Point opening, I'm probably wrong, but I want to say June 6th or 7th, they're to open back up. And if a amusement park like that takes admission out of anybody is allowed to open, I'm just going to assume I'm allowed to open at that point.
I think that's fair. Don't even ask the question. Be like, they're open.
Right. The gym next door to us is open now, and I was trying to open as like a member-based gyms and fitness centers. When I think about that, I really tried to ponder it. They're member-based. They're not really walk-ins and pay-to-use equipment. Nobody does that. You usually monthly basis, and we have a good member basis, so I was just going to run the road like that for a second. Just let the members at least use their money they already put into this. They're kind of like small investors, just, they want to see the thing do better. It's very grassroots. It's just 20 dudes, 20, 30 people that are pretty local to it. I try to make it affordable, but I am trying to stay with the time on the bank card and everything. I don't want to chase everybody around for $10 a month on cash. It's too petty of the money. The money's too low, but I'm not going to charge somebody $60 a month for a membership. So I'm trying to meet in the middle here by saying I can lower the price of the membership, but you are going to have to come at me correctly with a card. That's our new membership basis. But
so you're doing like monthly billing on the card or something?
Yeah, Square App. That's my big secret is Square App. You just swipe it. It gets all their information. You could set up invoices to send them an email. Very, very user friendly.
That's how the wheel mill has been too, because they used to do like every 6 months you could buy a season pass, right? And like summer season, you didn't have a lot of people buying a season pass. Winter season, you had a ton of people buying a season pass. But it's also tough to come up with $300-$400 like that and just be ready to dump it on a pass. And it also doesn't help your cash flow. Where like for the business, it's nice to have $50 or so coming in every month.
Yeah.
From all the different members, and know that that's going to be repeat billing.
Yeah.
So like that's what they've shifted to. You can buy like a month pass and it costs whatever amount. You can buy a 6 month pass and then the amount every month is less. And then if you buy a year's subscription, it's even less, but it's billed for 12 months repeating. And that seems to work out pretty good. Although I don't really know I don't know what the impacts of now are going to be as far as that's concerned. I guess some of it comes down to like, are you going to have restrictions on the amount of people you can have and everything? So, I don't know Ohio's stance on any of this stuff as far as even when you're allowed to open. I know that in Allegheny County, Pittsburgh. We are in the yellow phase right now, and we move to green next Friday. And I think we go from allowable gatherings of 25 people to allowable gatherings of up to 250 people. Well, that means any of those rec centers can open. And
Yeah.
I think it's like gyms and recreation stuff can operate at 50% capacity.
That is different than Ohio, I believe.
And I mean, you've probably got a max occupancy somewhere from the fire department, whatever it is.
It's just under 1,000.
Okay, so you can have 500 people in here,
I've
right?
never had 500 people in here.
Exactly.
Not
So it's
once.
I mean, let's do it, but
Yeah, I know. So at that point, when they open me back up, it's almost as if I have no restrictions. Local stores.
Are you supposed to wear a mask? What's Ohio's
I was going to
stance
say
on
that local stores have taken it upon themselves. They put up signs that said, "No masks allowed." I notice kids around here, they're kind of hip to wearing a mask. They almost
I like it. I think it's a cool thing.
Yeah, everybody likes wearing a mask. It's kind of I don't want to say thuggish, but it kind of has that feeling.
I'll give you
Bandanas over your face.
I'll give you my stance on it, and I had this in the last podcast too. But it's like, if you take a picture of us sitting on the couch and we upload that to Facebook, whether you have an active account or not, it's instantly going to want to tag you in that picture and me in that picture, because the facial recognition is so good. Now, you walk into Walmart, Target, the gas station, wherever, every security camera can easily pull what your face is and who you are. And now, every time you walk into Target, oh, Andy's back at Target again. Andy's back at Target. Oh, Andy buys this all the time. We can target Andy on Facebook now because we tied his Facebook, whatever. It's like, it would be really easy to do. And it's a little bit conspiracy theory, but I don't. But either way, I like the idea that even though I'm carrying my phone on me, which has GPS anyway, I like that I can cover my face in public, and you don't have to know.
You don't have to feel like you're getting mass surveillance at all hours.
Like, I know a lot of people that are very anti the mask thing, thinking that their freedom is being taken away. And I'm like, dude, do you think the government wants your face covered everywhere you go? No, take your freedom and run with it. Like, they're giving you the freedom to cover your face and hide your identity. It's awesome.
I've not thought of it in that way. I haven't seen that outlook. That is interesting, to say the least.
But it also does go back to being kind of thuggish. Like, even, let's just go put it in real terms. If you're going to go skate at, like, the local courthouse, do you want your face on their security cameras, or do you want a mask on?
Yeah, mask definitely preferred in that situation. My partner, my dad, he's real against the masks. You know, he likes the openness, the familiar face, that wholesome small town vibe. I think that's what that is.
Being able to smile at people when you walk past them?
Yeah.
That's a weird one, because, like, you still do it. If you got the mask on, you still, like, naturally, like, smile and give, like, a nod. But now it's just, like, a blank nod. And you're like, oh, that was weird.
Yeah. I guess I see that. PA's got a lot more of that than Ohio. We're pretty up in the air with whatever you want to do, in a way. At this point, I don't think the authorities are going to come to our building and tell us, you have too many people here. If there's always kids who are causing trouble, and if they bring the cops here, the cops might give me a little hard time. Couple kids the other day.
You're probably going to have to be pretty anal about some of that stuff for a while. Be like, hey, man, you need to get out of here if you're going to be, like, being shady at all.
Right.
Because, the last thing you need is to draw attention your way.
And kids get in trouble all the time. It's just what they're going to do. Cops have been in and out of this place the whole time. We probably won't require a mask. I don't think we could require a glove and mask. I think it's just too far beyond me to force anything like that upon anybody. I'm not going to tell them not to wear a mask either.
This is what Skate 14 had, and I had to take a picture of it because it's great. But I mean, it's
one.
Yeah, dude, it's pretty good. It basically tells you where they stand on the whole thing too, and we're not allowed to be open yet, but he's open. He has to be open because how long can you go? I assume that on the commercial industrial end, you were probably allowed to continue doing painting jobs. But as far as like any residential work, it just dropped right off. Unless you were just doing stuff anyway.
Yep, all the way through. I
have
actually
to.
picked up a lot of new styles. I was really painting for the first four or 5 years we were doing it. It was solely painting, and over the past year, a lot of mud work, a lot of not a lot, but we drywalled a basement. It was 84 sheets of rock. That was during this. We were in somebody's basement, and I was picking up that new stuff, new trade.
That's good.
Working right through it. I heard the whole time painters were allowed to because they classify as cleaning.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true. I just heard that from a paint buddy that was doing the same thing I'm doing. We were just, supplying the food so we can still eat, still live here.
Yeah, exactly. Pay your rent. That's good though, and it'll probably help you in the long run because if you get a couple extra new clients or something in there, like, it just helps pay your bills. So it is what it is. So you still don't know if you're allowed to be open technically. Are you doing like rentals or anything though?
Yeah, we just did a rental yesterday morning for Nowhere BMX.
Yep.
They were through here. The bar end guy, I guess.
Cody.
Sure, yeah, Cody.
Yep.
He messaged me, and
I was actually at Cody's house before I came here.
cool. That is really cool. Yeah, they were here yesterday. They just had about 8 people. Now, somebody did ask me to rent the park probably 4 weeks ago, and I was having a real hard time giving them a solid answer as to should we rent the park, because I didn't know. Our rentals are based on hours, like $50 an hour is our base with a minimum of 3 hours. So I'm just getting $150 at least. But the unlimited people is where I was at, and I can't really say, I can't take unlimited people away from my client because that's what I'm offering. But at the same time, in this
I think
moment,
you can, but like,
yeah, in this moment, I really had to. And I just didn't get to supply that rental at that point because I didn't want to ask the awkward question of who do you want to bring. In this second rental with Cody, they were very optimal about it with about 10 people, maybe.
Yeah.
That was a great little party. Ideal, very ideal.
I think there's been a lot of changes in the last month anyway, where like the first 4 weeks of this, everyone was pretty on board with what was going on. Not stoked on it by any means, but like understanding and somewhat willing to comply. Then it started carrying on like, 2 more weeks of it, and people are like, this is ridiculous. And now it's just like outright rebelling against it. And
I agree.
like
Crazy.
PA still has counties in what they're calling red, which is, it might as well be the stay-at-home order still. And when they moved some of them to yellow and certain businesses were still not allowed to open, like in Allegheny County, until next Friday, hairdressers, tattoo shops, none of that stuff's allowed to be open. And it's like, well, now you're playing favorites as to what small businesses matter and don't, and I don't think that's right. My opinion...
I'm with you on that.
My opinion is if you want to open your hair salon and want to open your tattoo shop and you're comfortable as the stylist or artist with being interfacing with the public, then the customers that are also comfortable in that setting will come. If they don't come, or if they're not comfortable, no one's making them go. Now, when you start looking at it that way, I would rather see a company go out of business because people chose not to use their service rather than being held hostage by the government.
Great feel. on that same thing. Greatly agree. That is exactly where we were at. I see Ohio was a little bit different though, because they opened up their hairstylists, a lot of tattoo shops, which is crazy because you're dealing with everybody's blood and this and that when you're tattooing them.
Yeah.
But that's cool. Like, you should be able to do what you want to do, because if you put yourself at risk, that is, as an adult, you're right in a way. That is your right to put yourself into your own form of danger, whatever you believe.
Well, and I can give you the counter argument on it too. When you look at it from like what they're saying and the social side, everything's moving too fast. Now, I say that in the sense, when you look at, they're saying it takes 2 weeks roughly before you'll even know you've got the virus, right? So when you go from the stay-at-home orders to like a gentle restriction where now they're opening like other retail businesses, right? Like Joe's bookstore can do curbside pickup.
Yep.
It's going to take at least 2 weeks before the first cases start to come up. And then you need to give it at least 2 more weeks. So 1 solid month before you know if that had an impact on your cases or not, before you transition onward to another phase. But they did it in 2-week increments. And it's like, well, you moved us from red to yellow, and now you're moving us from yellow to green in not enough time to even know if your red to yellow had an impact. And if we start blowing up from the red to yellow, then the next month of us being in green is going to make this explode.
Yeah, there's a lot of politics all wrapped up in that, because there's so many.
But again, like, you can't hold businesses and everyone hostage on that. It's not right. And again, if you're not comfortable, then don't go.
Yeah.
But I question things like the skate park, for example. You know, this is a great example of when you talk about non-essential business, it really is.
It really is.
So if parents aren't comfortable dropping their kids off here, then you're going to have less people. But again, at least if you had that option, then you could say, well, at least we didn't go out of business because the government held us hostage. So anyway, that's like all speculation, I guess, as far as that would go. But like, you've been able to exist here while you were shut down. And I know you've been working on some of the stuff internally. You guys still live here, right?
Yep.
Okay. So you can obviously be in and out and you can do whatever you want because you live here. So that question kind of goes out the window of like, what have you been allowed to do during the shutdown? Unless you have an answer for it that's other than just like being here.
Been allowed to do during the shutdown. I was really happy that Home Depot is still open, because we were able to get a lot of hard work with the workshop or building, demolition, anything like that was great.
The skate shop that's going in, have they been able to build that out during this time too? Like, be able to work on that, or has it been recent that they're doing
They're
that?
30-year-old grassroots kids, so we supplied them the racks.
Okay.
A lot of the furnishing, the showcase cabinet, a lot of their stuff has been just, it's a rental of our space, and they're just supplying product in there. It was pretty loaded for them already, honestly. And we still got more racks at their store. It had tables and desks, all kind of business style cabinets to use.
Okay.
So there's a lot more available to others who would want to do something with product.
That's awesome though.
Yeah, it's cool to just have that sitting around, whether it goes to buy, sell, trade, or a renter. Mm-hmm. It's available.
Good. Did you guys do any like fundraisers or anything? Special t-shirts, gift cards, anything like that? Or did you not really bother?
We haven't got to a gift card point of sales yet. I don't have product I can really have gift cards for.
Well, and I think you're probably going to go right the same direction that I will pitch on this anyway. Would it even help? Or would you just be deferring the time that you don't have any money? Because if everyone came in with gift cards for the next 2 months to get sessions, you're broke.
That's why I brought up the point about product. I would only do gift cards if it were a gift card for in-store products, Like if we had more merchandise or if I had something, an
Yeah.
item to sell, whether we made it or
Yeah,
some
if
type of
you just
apparel or
did
something.
pre-orders on shirts or something like.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we don't have a good stock that's like that. A lot of our stuff that we did have in stock, though, it has gone out. I had sets of trucks, I had decks, I had grip tape, and people came in and they were supporting. That was good.
Good.
While this was shut down, we have gotten a couple new guys to give us the startup for the membership and get on the membership. So it's still growing even though it's closed. Like somehow somebody is still betting that, hey, when you guys start charging in June, I want to be a part of those people you start charging in June. And I mean, I let them come check it out. You know, if you're going to help a little bit, you can stroll around, but now we're basically open. It's just today's a nice day. You know, it's back to summer vibes.
Yeah, well, just like I said earlier, it's like it happened at a horrible time.
Yeah.
Because it was your last 2 months probably that you expected to be good months for the park anyway. You know, if you were realistically told, if you could have had the last 2 months open and you were told today that you can't open for 2 months, be like, okay. Like it almost doesn't affect your business. Almost. Other than like the occasional rainy day or if you have an event going on.
Yeah, I feel that. It gets to be a ghost town in the summertime through August. Man, we had a real slick thing going on that expansion. He was going to give us some money off of that space, you know, as like a courtesy month to get your business in order because it's such a big space. Here, take April. Oh, we got April. Thank you. You know, it was
you
like,
got kicked in the nuts in April.
Wonderful. Well, I'm glad that was free. No, it does help. Like everything does help, and I mean, our landlord has to pay the bills on the plaza, so he didn't give us no shortage of. There was no leeway to it.
Yeah,
It was like you were getting a new business, you got a courtesy month, but there is no you're not gonna hold rent on me, nothing like that. Which maybe if we're a bigger business, we could get a better standing on that.
Did you do any of the like loans and stuff that were available, like PPP? I forget what the other small business loans were.
Yeah, there was a $10,000 advance loan for any small business that was, I don't know, you make less than, I forget what it was. I did sign up for those. I did not obtain any money. The PPP would have been, if I had employees, I would have been able to pay them. And as long as I used 75%, then I would have been able to use 25. And I mean, I was really reading in, yeah.
And you only would have been, the 75% of that would have been waived, which was like awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, I know that you and your dad run the park. So it's like.
And we don't have no payroll set up to look like an employee either.
So you'd be taking out a loan for the full amount and then have that to pay back on top of it. Yeah. So it's the question I've been asking most people has been like, would it have done more long-term harm than good for you? And it sounds like probably.
Maybe. There was that economic disaster loan. I didn't obtain any of those loans. I tried.
I think a lot of people, I think that the economic disaster loans got taken so quickly that they stopped giving them out.
It sounded like a good gig. That and the $10,000 advance. That might have been a part of the economic disaster, but it was like complete forgiveness. You get $10,000 complete forgiveness, and I logged in for that like 3 times, signing up, trying like, man, that $10K would do a lot in this building, but.
Heck yeah, at least pay your rent for a couple of months, if nothing else.
Went right by us for that. Things are good though, you know? It's been growing the entire time. This year has been a really good year. I mean, I know like the media and the whole overall vibe of 2020 has been like a new era disaster, new world order, you know, evolution that is going to change your whole being. And I don't know, just it's like,
I never even opened my water. What am I doing?
It's just been a good year though, so far. Even with all the BS that's went about.
I don't really disagree with you on that, because if you stay off social media and you don't watch the news, like 2020's been all right.
Yeah, it's been nice out.
It's been
good.
decent weather. I mean, we've been on relative lockdown, but it's like you're still allowed to go out in your own neighborhood and go for walks and like pretty much do whatever. I mean,
I see a lot of community. Yep. The paint jobs have been going terrific. It's been all just back-to-back busyness. It's like at first people were sketched out. Like nobody wanted, when it first happened for the first 2 weeks, Corona was like, my best friend was not going to come here. Nobody was going to, even though I got all this space and everything, nobody was allowed to come here, see nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was weird. It was super weird. I was weird around my dad. I was weird around that. I started washing things at first, and then I started to gather myself more. And we started to talk about it as a unit. We came together. And I think that's what everybody needs more of, is that unity, that feeling that, hey, we're in it together. And it got the slogan, but I feel the substance is missing in a lot of places.
yeah, and a lot of it, like when you really started to see the numbers, and they'd be like, well, we're reducing these numbers, and like these numbers aren't really where we thought they were. And you're like, not that I think this is all a scam, but like, did we somehow get played? I don't know.
I agree. I've been sitting in that same section.
It's a weird spot to be in, because you're like, I don't want to be the one calling this out to be fake, and I'd also hate to, like, because I know people that have had it, and I know people that have died, and it's like, okay, so it's not fake, but was it made out to be more than it is? Maybe. It's really hard to say, and you could say, is it way up the ladder being used and exploited for other reasons?
I hear that too.
Probably.
I talk about that more than I talk about the actual virus at this point. But the first 2 weeks, nothing but virus talk.
Yeah.
I was even like feeling a little under the weather. I went everywhere trying to get myself checked out, and they said, "You're good." Like they checked me out. I was fine. I got over everything, and that was super awkward to be here, because when I was kind of under the weather, people were still coming in here, and so I locked myself away for days, and that was real awkward, really awkward. But then 2 months in advance, where we are now, we talk about the business end of it, the way it affected economically, the way it's dividing the people, the way that the election is based. I mean, that's really where a lot of the attack is feeling like it's coming from, a fear mongering. But I don't want to be a conspiracy head either and just blatantly.
It's almost hard not to anymore.
I feel that too. Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's like nothing since the whole Epstein thing. From then to now, nothing's felt right.
Yeah, I can't believe anything. It's better off to just stay away from my phone.
Before you guys had to shut down, there was like roughly that 1 week period where we knew that restrictions needed to be in place before they locked everything down hard. Were you guys doing anything at that point? Like trying to distance, enforce masks, anything? Well, no, at that point they were saying not to wear masks.
Yeah, they were saying
because they were trying to save them for the healthcare workers.
I did have a couple days cleaning, but I only got a couple days cleaning before business was closed. I was one of those hippies that kind of just, we're doing our thing here. It's a range over here. And
It's a skate park. If you've ever been to a clean skate park, it's just weird. Like if it was if it was super clean and polished in here, you'd be like, no one comes here and rides.
Right now, it's cleaner than it has been in a minute, and that's because we've gotten to take so much time to orchestrate ourselves. And it's still a mess, because painters are, even though it's a cleaning service in a way, it's still a messy business.
Yeah.
Paint all over the place, it leaves dust if you're spraying, anything like that, you're gonna
Yep.
get overspray, and there's a lot of smells. You know, you get funny smells, funky smells, high smells, all kinds of things with that.
I already know you already answered the one question that you're probably not gonna enforce masks, aside from like if you want to wear one, go for it. But
Yep.
it's
I've had them both.
we were joking at the wheel mill when I did that one. He's like, "Have you ever gone on like a heavy bike ride wearing a mask when it's sweat soaked? It's like waterboarding yourself.
I didn't think about that. That would
Like
be
you
terrible.
can't breathe through it."
Personally, I have not wore much of a mask. Today I went to PA, Zelianople, and
Yeah.
they wanted masks inside stores, and I didn't have a mask, so I
Yeah.
was kind of left with what
Well,
I got.
That's funny because around the corner I went to the gas station and bought that water, and I sat in my car for a good 5 minutes to just see if at that store people were going in and out with masks on, because like on one hand, if the store is not allowing it or the people aren't wearing them and you walk in with a mask, it may cause more, tension or havoc than it's intended to. And hey, sorry, I don't know, I'm from out of state. Valid answer, but like you still don't need the apprehension on you. And I was watching everyone go in and out and not one single person had masks on. And I'm like, all right, cool. And I walk in and every single employee has masks on. And I'm like, well, now I feel like a dick. Because if the employees are forced to wear them, that's cool. But like the theory is you're only really catching your own germs wearing it. So if they have to wear them and they're exposed, like you and I have to be wearing them to protect them from ours, where
Yes.
like our
Yes, sir.
sneeze or our cough would catch
Correct.
most of our.
This state I've seen a lot of back and forth, 50-50 I would say, with the masks and without. People want to be free-spirited, but other people want to be safe.
Yeah, and it's like I don't think anywhere you go, unless they've had issues, is going to outright say you're not allowed to wear masks in our store. They're either enforcing that masks have to be worn or it's elective,
Yeah.
from what I've seen.
That counter is a very small town ideal to not allow a mask, because they don't want to. They want to be able to see that familiar face. That's a very small town type of mindset. Where in a big city like New York, I would probably wear my mask, even though I have not worn one in Ohio.
Well, I'm just going to say I've traveled a lot for work like the last handful of years, and most of the people traveling from Asian countries have been wearing masks for years out in public, during travel especially. And every single time I saw it, I'm like, why the heck would you wear a mask, you weirdo? But now I'm like, okay, because they're a very population-dense society, and they've had numerous health issues in the past. Like they do it to protect themselves and possibly to protect others that haven't been to China or other Asian countries. Now it all makes sense, and now I get it.
That passed right by me a lot of times, because in 2015, now that I'm thinking about an airport, I believe I might have seen a mask or two, but at that time, it wasn't anything I was concerned with.
No, you're just
And
like,
same with the
I wonder why that
surveillance.
person's wearing a mask. Or you look at it and go, I need to avoid that person because they're wearing a mask. They're probably sick. Not thinking about it from like the stance that we're all in now of like, it's just for everyone else's good.
Preventative, yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm pretty open about the mask thing. It doesn't really bother me. I kind of like it for the reasons I said earlier.
It's not bad for business, small business. I see them with the logos and everything.
That's the thing. Like when it first happened, probably the first 2 weeks of it, and they're like, saying we didn't need to wear masks, and then they're starting to kind of come out with like, well, you should probably wear a mask. When I saw the first handful of people immediately put out masks with logos on it, I'm like, you guys suck. Like, that's so whack to just go profit chase it. But then as it's like a couple of weeks on and it's now required everywhere, I was like, all right, I have to publicly change my stance on this now, because if I have to wear one anyway, I'd at least be like happier to rep, whatever company. Shout out for making cool filtered masks.
Yep, I'm with you.
But
support.
if I can rep my friend's company or rep something cool, as opposed to be like the guy wearing a non N95 medical mask around, and not only wearing the same mask, like he's wearing the same blue mask he's worn for like 4 weeks now, and it's all dirty, and you're like, what are you doing, man? Like, get a real mask that you can wash. It's like funny.
Yeah, to reuse that is harsh. For a reopening day, I don't know what I would say exactly to like blast it, but I'm thinking as it stands right now, we might as well just do business as usual. It's the end of May. It's about to be June time. Parks are going to open. I think movie theaters and bowling alleys are allowed to open. I did not check Skate Zone. Skate Zone's a good comparison. They're not member-based, but they are entertainment.
There's a climbing gym like a couple miles away too, right? Ascend or something like that.
They might be member-based though. And if they are, then that changes it for us, because I'm not trying to open to just members only. That's kind of not where I want my vision to go. Even though that's a good
unless you wanted to rewrite your short-term membership methods to be like $10 daily memberships, or like you could basically write your pricing to be members, quote unquote, for like the day.
Sure, I see where you're going with that, and you could still run business as usual.
Or it's 15, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think we're too small. We're just too small.
Well, and it's just a song and dance, right? If you're doing that, like, even on your busiest day, you're not touching the volume of people in here that a gym with members is going to see.
Right. In and out.
Yeah, because people go to the gym for what, 45 minutes to an hour on average, probably?
Yep, I watch them over there, right next door.
This question has progressively become like dumber and dumber as we're seeing like, oh, you're allowed to open at like 50% capacity. So like, okay, it's not really going to change, because I've never seen a skate park pack remotely to what their like maximum occupancy is allowed to be. But the question that I have written down here is, what do you foresee the landscape of skate and bike parks to be in the general future? Like, is it going to be limited? Appointment only, stuff like that, and there was, a month ago that was a legit question. Now I feel like it's gonna be a free for all and back to the way it was.
Probably, I could probably say free for all is the way things look a lot lately, but I think a really good revamp for somebody who isn't allowed to open a rec center style, like a member based. If you're gonna do member based, to get that door back open, it has some type of recreational fitness, whether it's weights, trampoline, whatever. That's a cool little idea. Foosball table, pool table, just something recreational that's for a skate park to establish more than just, to be more than just a skate park is probably what would open the door, because when you end the word with park, they're going to treat you like Mill Creek Park or Cedar Point Amusement Park or something crazy like that, where that's probably they're gonna be the last ones to open. Even though Mill Creek is open, I don't think their playgrounds might have caution tape right around the playground, even though Mill Creek is open. So the park is not open, even though you're allowed to walk the trail. And I don't want them to come down with the wrath on us like that. So I've been kind of fizzling some little ideas like that.
it doesn't make sense. And like for them to even chase you down, like a lot of PA, the counties were rebelling against the governor because the governor's like, oh, you're in yellow, you're not allowed to do this. These businesses are still not allowed to open. And the district attorneys of each county were like openly stating, we will not prosecute those that choose to open their businesses. As opposed to what the governor's orders are. He's like, we have more important things to do, and the livelihoods of people are at stake. And then the governor came back and fought it with like, we'll cancel your insurances, blah, blah, blah. And it turned into this little mini war. But it's like, you're having this battle about literally 2 weeks time frame before you're going to move them to open anyway. What are you gaining from that when, based on the discussion we had earlier, you're not even going to know if your yellow zone had any impact until after you've already opened to green. So it just seems real weird to me, and it's all politics. That's what it comes down to, and it's just weird.
If there was no politics, it'd be too boring, though. Mm-hmm. Everything would be so bland. If there was no wars upon us, that fires everybody up. It makes them stand up for each, whether they see it one way or another, each side is at least voicing themselves. Mm-hmm. So it wakes a lot of people up doing that, trying to take things from them or force things upon them.
Yeah. How does all of this affect your pricing, either short-term or long-term, or is it not going to?
It's affected the pricings of the rentals.
I guess also, in your case, you also have more space now. So, are you intending to charge more and up your admission rates, or?
Easiest way to put it, no. There's going to be no change for me. I'm not looking to raise a member. I'm not looking to raise the door price. My rentals were affected by Corona because I used unlimited people as a leverage to get rentals. Like, if you want to pack the park with you and your boys, it's only $150 for those few hours. You want more, it's $50 an hour. But that was a good gig when we were open. People did apply to that. But with Corona happening, that was not available to at least one person that tried to rent out the park. I was getting a lot of messages before, but at the time I was just focused on what I'm doing here and now, and I couldn't get back to everybody who wanted to get into the park.
Yeah. See, I don't feel like it would be unreasonable to say that your rental at $150 caps at 15 people. And, hey, we'll add $10 a head for each person beyond that, because that's just your standard admissions at that point for a large group.
Yeah, it is.
But
it's the same price.
I think that's entirely reasonable, because I'll give you the example. For our jam we do up in Binghamton, New York, we also rent HCS skate park out, and that is a flat fee for like how many people come to the jam. We pay that, and no one has to pay to ride at the jam. But if 300 people show up to that event, the owner got boned. There's just no way around it. That was, the wear and tear on the ramps and everything alone of 300 people riding them.
Yep.
And the stress level that puts on the owner to just be babysitting 300 people being around this place, and like all sorts of different reasons, that's not that beneficial. Like,
you get a lot of people to know, though. A lot of people are going to recognize what it is.
You could also do the like, hey, 300 people, or you do, and obviously we're just spitballing here, but if you said 150 for 3 hours, 15-person cap plus $10 a head, up to a maximum of $300 or something. So at 30 people plus, it's still only $300. I don't think on any of that's unreasonable.
That's a good point you bring up.
And, not that you should have to charge more, but like, hey, it's all reasonable.
End of February, we had that music event I brought up to you before we started recording. Yeah. The couple of DJs, they were having a party, and that was probably the most people I've had in here for a while. I don't know if the BMX events have had more people, but there was at least 120 people in this building, and that was a tragedy. As a business owner, for me to receive $250, this is my experience at this point,
Yep.
for about 3-4 hours. Now, that's not bad money for 3 or 4 hours. You know, you get paid at least $50 an hour, maybe a little bit over. Mm-hmm. It's not bad business, but I had 120 people in here.
The opportunity lost was insane.
It was blowing up with so many people drinking, smoking, just ignorant. I was tripping because Gio comes up to me. He's like, dude, this dude's about to jump through a fucking table. I'm like, what? He said, off the 10-foot, he's jumping through the fucking table. I said, what do you mean he's going to jump through it? And they got it all on Instagram now, but it was just ridiculous. It's an 8-foot quarter, by the way. It's not a 10-foot quarter. Yeah. I'm not sure. Gio knows that, too. But this dude jumps up.
But it's like, skate parks are like fishing stories about like how big the ramp was.
They are, too. It was a 12-footer.
Remember when the guy jumped off the 12-foot? No, we've never had a 12-foot.
That's exactly what it's named on Instagram. Through table off 12-foot. And it's like, it's an 8-foot ramp, man. But that's still insane. Dude's just sitting here, whatever, and then he jumps right through the table. And that was just such a liability as a business owner for a bunch of kids to come in drinking, smoking. I'm running the generator at that time still, so I'm thinking the cops are definitely busting me just for the generator being on after midnight. It's like 1 a.m. and people are just now loading up. They're all out by like 2 a.m. But it was like, I stressed a lot to have that 250. It was...
Yeah, and I mean, heavy. Ultimately, like, was it worth it? Sure, you got $250, but like, would you do it again that way?
That's what I was thinking. At the end of the night, it was like, would you really do that again? Because that was a hard day's work.
And like, even they're all coming in doing whatever. You probably didn't catch a waiver for every single person that walked in because they weren't riding. Close.
I did sign papers with the one kid that rented it. That was one rental where I got some papers going and signed some liability away from him and said, hey, if you use my lights after midnight, it's this and that much more. A lot of liability there, a lot of kids at risk. It was a great time still, and that's the clout, though. I mean, in a little way, it is like all those kids from around here now are like, damn, that was a banger. And that's cool. That's a cool little vibe.
Yeah, but like it's gonna rain hell down on you if it goes bad.
Yep.
Or if the next one goes bad, it is what it is. Obviously, the answer is clearly yes. But like, and we've talked a little bit. What do you have in store? Like, you've been working on a bunch of fun stuff during the shutdown and whatnot, like park changes, and then I guess we kind of already talked about that. And I'll snap some pictures before I leave and throw them up with this. But what about more on the event side? Do you have any like ideas of things you want to do? You want to throw like a banger jam as soon as you're allowed to just try to help with some cash flow?
Oh, man. For coronavirus, I had to ask our BMX locals to help me with the jam again. They said June. They said, you're going to need 6 months to plan it. You should plan it for June.
6 is a little long. I don't agree with
long.
that. I always say 2. It gives you enough time to adequately reach out to sponsors and to get stuff out.
You need about 2 to get to the sponsors.
And because everyone just doesn't send stuff.
With the sponsors. Yeah, they want like 6 to 8 weeks with the big guys, the guys who are going to throw you the brand name, product. Fundraiser immediately. Like I had to shut down and stop that little. It's not really a fundraiser, but it is a $5 day. I make it a low cost entry, and I just give it all the money from that day. I'm gonna hold for, like last time it was the heat, and we bought 2 heaters, but amongst all that we made $500 because at $5 we got like 110 people to come in throughout that day, and it was cool. But that was in waves. It wasn't like the party of 120 people. That was different. But it was in waves of like 100 people. Nice little cap of whatever. And so we bought these couple of heaters. The other section we buy out has heat vents. So we don't even need those that we had. We threw in a fundraiser event to get heat, and we actually don't really need those. We could probably use heaters over here, like better. So I'm trying to get something for the room.
Yes and no. It's such an empty space that like
it's not gonna heat much.
If you heated this up to, I don't know, I mean even 50 degrees in here in the winter, it's gonna cost you a fortune to continually keep this place at 50 degrees. And it's not gonna be 50 degrees down here. It's gonna be 50 degrees up there and about 35 down here still.
I feel that. Yeah, I've had that conversation.
And you're straight to the metal roof now.
Yeah,
so,
it's no good. When you pass through the rooms, you could feel the temperature change.
Any heat you pump into that ceiling immediately goes to just melting the snow on the roof.
Great.
So you, like the old joke that dads like to make of like, I'm not paying to heat the outdoors. Well, you kind of are.
Yep. So that's hard to get around. But the next room definitely have a different change.
You could probably spray insulation, all of that.
Oh, yeah.
But that's going to, I mean, with, what did you say this is, 23,000 square feet?
23,000 is this room.
23,000 square feet of spray foam insulation. Yeah, good luck with that. What are you talking about? Probably dumping $6,000 to $10,000 in spray foam if you're doing it yourself.
Yeah, that's not something I'm looking to do anytime soon.
And I mean, we're talking that would be at what, like 33 cents a square foot, if you could do it in that.
Wow, that is a low cost.
Yeah,
It's
well, and I'm guessing,
ceiling.
so it's probably more than that. You're probably $10,000 in spray foam insulation. If not more. It might be like $1 a square foot.
Yeah. What was your original question? What's in store?
Yeah. Like what ideas, events, what do you got? What are you trying to do?
Trying to fill that other section up with probably a good little contest area. You know, I want to have somewhere people could
I got a cool
watch.
idea for you that might be something to think about is DIY ramp comp. Just let people build stuff and put it there.
Wow, I've never even thought about that. That would be incredible. Yeah, I can't even knock that at all because I don't have to pay for it. People are doing it for me. It
could almost be a free event if you're like, look, we're gonna do this.
Just come in and
you build the ramp here. You got all week to do it. The week prior, or you can build it and bring it in. And then
there has to be a good reward or prize to the winner though, and I'm not sure what they can receive besides cold cash that would make anybody satisfied.
Yeah. I'm not thinking it's like a great option right this moment because you don't have any cash flow for the last 2 months.
Yeah.
But like as far as filling out a new space, like that's an awesome idea. I just wish it made more sense. Now, I will throw another one out that East Coast Terminal in Johnson City, New York, used to, I think it was once a year, they would paint all their outer walls, like where you have the Youngstown wall and like then you got that other outer wall. They would paint them white, just go through, paint it all white, and they would block off like 8x8 sections and sell them, I think, for $100, and they would have a graffiti jam once a year. And any dudes
But the
could come
graffiti artist pays.
Yeah, it was a graffiti jam and then like the park would be closed for like 2 days while all the paint would dry and cure and everything.
That's interesting.
It was cool.
We've talked about that. Not me and you personally, but me and a couple of kids have brought up splitting the sections of the wall and having a contest, but I would pay them.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying.
This one turned into like people were traveling to it so that they could put their work on that park's wall because otherwise it was a locked down thing. Like, you were not painting there unless it was that time of year. Then that work was also in every video edit and whatnot that came out of there. And, not that anyone likes the work for exposure mentality, but like, it put the work out there and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that would happen before the DIY ramps, I would say. Like, if I was going to use both of those ideas you just threw, I would definitely do the art project first. I think that's cool. We had our little art show, and they did have graffiti artists, and I was trying to, like, get a contest in there somehow, some way. It just came upon me too fast. In December, I work with Gio Mavar a little bit, to where he throws me ideas, kind of like what you just did, but he'll be like, man, we need to get an art show in here, just something. And I'm like, dude, if you can get some people, I can get you a flyer. And then we'll just go back and forth with each other for a couple of weeks. And then, like, the 2 weeks before it actually happens, we're really at each other, like, grinding for it. We're like, okay, I got this for this. I got these people doing that. And we were, like, kind of getting a unit together. And that was a good night. Like, me and him were watching it at that point, and it wasn't to the caliber I'd enjoy to the fullest, but it was a good start. And I think for our next art show, it might be around Halloween time. People said it'd be great to theme it as Halloween.
Yeah.
And I could definitely incorporate some things where I would say section off 8x8 parts. Have the vendors running down that long hallway. That'd be interesting.
8x8 is a lot of space for a nice mural.
If we take a look at those Simpson arts, they're 2x6 maybe, like 2 foot by 6 foot each. And that was one person was doing one character, so there was 3 people, three people doing that. Yeah. In probably a 10 foot by 10 foot section.
Yeah, and I like remember most of that was obviously you've got your border, right? Where like my art and your art is not gonna necessarily blend together, and it was kind of on us to work together. Like, how are we gonna blend this corner so that it looks good? Because I don't want to do art and have it completely not look good because it's next to yours, and same for you.
What's the name of that?
That park was East Coast Terminal.
East Coast Terminal.
And they haven't been in business for years.
And you showed me that Kona tombstone. Yep, got to see I got to look up some tricks on that Kona tombstone.
Yeah, when you start looking at it, it's going to blow your mind again. No, that's just a couple cool ideas that you could consider at some point. The other thing is, I will tell you this: when you have an organized collection of people that paid for individual spaces on your wall to graffiti them, the cops are really interested in that because now they know who did what type of work where. And you kind of have to shut that out and be like, dude, I don't know. I didn't take names.
That's pretty easily.
Yeah, like, dude, I took money at the door and let them go.
Yep. I'm pretty easy at not taking names.
Yeah.
It's not hard to do nothing when you just take their money and let them go. We don't,
Been here before? All right, cool.
Yep, there you go. Oh, no, I've seen them a couple times, but I can't remember. I try to stay upstanding.
You have to, because it's only going to hurt you if you don't.
Yep.
Okay, so how can people find you? What is your Instagram name?
Wedgewood Ramps.
That's all one word, right?
At Wedgewood Ramps. No spaces, no underscores, capitals, nothing.
And then your physical location is what?
We're actually in Austintown. It's kind of like west side Youngstown. The physical location, Wedgewood Plaza. That's a good start. If you can find Wedgewood, you'll know Wedgewood Pizza. That's definitely going to be, if anything local, you'll know Wedgewood Pizza. And once you're by Austintown Wedgewood Pizza, we're across the street, basically.
And on the right side of the building.
Yep. And
what is the address, just out of curiosity?
1733.
South Raccoon Road?
Raccoon Road, yep.
Okay.
This was 1739, but that's going to be our front door, so the front door will be 1733. I think it'll all, at this point, I think it accounts for one.
Yeah, probably.
If anybody walked in, they would say it's all one part.
And then I guess as far as supporting you now, just come shred. Hit them
Yeah.
up in the DMs. Make sure they're going to be here.
Yeah, we don't have a lot to sell anybody. There's not a lot we're trying to move. Nothing we're moving out the door, really. We've had a couple different ideas I'll probably post about, whether they're physical items or apparel, stickers. I got some cool stickers of the Youngstown wall. I did not put those up for sale or anything yet, but they're laminated. They're cool little stickers. I'd like to get some boards made like that. I got a local guy with a full color printer, so it's real grassroots
Nice.
the way we're doing that, and he's a member here, so I got good little base going on here with the unit between people. He's a skater, he skateboards, so me and him can collab like that. It's all grassroots like that. I do the one color t-shirts. Anything that's one color, I don't have ink, but I have vinyl, so
Okay.
I kind of base that off of.
Are you heat pressing them then?
Yep, that's the way I've been doing that. T-shirts, hoodies, basically.
Nice.
I did a couple hats, but they melted, so I'm gonna work on that before I get anything.
I will pass you a contact that I highly recommend for like multicolor prints.
Cool. Is it our house?
It's not.
Okay,
It's-
because I know
it- well,
they really
it's
kill
upstate
shit.
merch.
Okay.
Anyone that wants to buy stuff, I highly recommend Upstate merch.
Nice.
They've always, well, not always, because I've had a couple of unique situations. They've historically done all of our shirts for us. I had one local friend in Pittsburgh that came up with his own logo for us based off of a design concept we threw his way, and he had his own multicolor press or multicolor screen printing setup. So, dude did the work on the logo. I can't not let him print it. Like that wouldn't even be cool.
Gotcha.
So,
I see what you're
so
saying.
he printed that, and then the shirt I'm wearing actually was done by Matt at the Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a photograph from one of our jams, and then he like rendered it out into this one color, and
A
he's
trace.
like,
Yeah.
he's like, dude, I made this for you. I'm not sure if you're like into it or not. I'm like, dude, that's sweet. And he's like, I'd love to print them for the jam. I'm like, let's do it.
I love the one color card. I've been trying to get that idea with the Vans that we got going on out there. That's kind of a little Wedgewood icon thing. But I really want to get
Yeah.
a one color Van logo. I'm caught in the middle there because I don't want to be too visual about who I am, my image, and that, and like have Wedgewood in a van on the shirt when I don't even have Wedgewood on one of those vans yet. I would like to have the logo on the van before I have the van on the shirt, you know? I don't know
Yeah.
if that even makes sense
No,
to anybody else.
I know what you're saying.
Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's just what it is in my head. But yeah, I've been playing around with some logos. I got a couple new logos in store like that. At the art show, I gave out a couple of those Youngstown stickers. I had that Youngstown mural on a couple of skateboards. That is something I've been holding. I haven't told anybody about, but good at time now is
Yeah,
now.
might as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can make it happen so that it's not one of those like flop ideas that's so awesome and then it just like for 100 reasons that are out of your control doesn't work out.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely struggled with the product. That was a big thing with Wedgewood was our product was heavy to keep in store. A couple of times people ran through, stole things. We never had surveillance. Up front, we have 8 surveillance cameras now. That's a big, legit thing. We have speakers on the ceiling, we have heat, we have AC, good running electric, like no generators. So since we've been down, there's been a lot of like, almost like a legit business at this point.
Almost. 10 years later. That's funny. Anything else you want to bring up? Anything you want to talk about? Pitch? Well, all right. I do have one. We talked about if there would be change to it, and then you've talked about membership. What is your pricing structure right now? For everyone that wants to know, this is May 31st, 2020. So If you call up in a month, this might be different. It's always subject to change, but no, what is your pricing structure? Because it's always, I know you're always trying to hook it up as best you can, and I'll just let you go on what it is.
Okay. The startup, there is an initial startup, like a down payment, and this is more of a security. This is like so I don't feel I got the pipe when things roll out. It is $100 down. Kind of steep.
That's for membership.
That is to base your membership. Now, the only thing you have to do after that, have a card, whether it's a bank card, credit card, whatever I can use as like a monthly rate. If you're filling up a card, $10, whatever, as long as I can rip $10 off that card, it will notify me, it'll let me know. If we're not missing any months, we don't have a problem. But I'm not trying to have somebody miss their $10 months for like their card declines 3-4 times, I can't get a hold of them, they're just off the grid. And then they come back and they're like, is my membership good?
Like, no, you owe $100 again.
That's kind of where we're at
to
with
re-up
our
it.
membership right now.
So you're only doing $10 a month then after
It is
a membership.
$10 a month, yes. But the down payment is $100, so I don't get that drop off. Like the summertime, the $100 is like, oh well, if you got me in the summer, hey, at least I got my fucking $100.
Yeah. What's that come out to for the year then? It's
Yep,
$220.
That's a bad loophole that I left myself. Is that people have showed up and said, let me pay that full year, and they give me $220 or $210. They give me $210.
Yeah, $210 because the first one is the 100.
Yep. So that is kind of like a year membership at Wedgewood is right now loopholed to be $210. You could straight up give me $210 and ride all year. But
Yeah.
somebody did that and Corona happened and they haven't been able to ride their bike for 2 months. So, I mean, I can offer time at the same time. You only paid $210, dude. How much are you going to hold me to?
You can just give them 2 months on the back end of it if you really
I
wanted
could,
to and call
yeah.
it good. But like,
That's not a high amount for a year.
Talking with Skate 14 yesterday, they're suspending their memberships for the next 2 months. So they're crediting the 4 months on the back end. So they'll have 4 months next year of their membership added. But for the next 2 months, because of cash flow, they're saying, look, if you're a member or not, you got to pay.
Wow. 4 months free later, though, is pretty good to be able to ride out that third of the year.
Yeah. And I mean,
If that's in the winter, that'll really hype everybody up to...
yeah, but you almost need that membership to die at the like August, September area where they want to come in and pay for it because they know they're going to get the year's worth. Whereas...
You want members to come back at that point,
yeah,
you're saying,
I mean,
so that you get the down
if
payment.
it's already, say, December by the time they're like needing to pay for a membership, then you're like $100 or like just a couple of sessions here and there and be done with it. You ride it out. I don't know, whatever, but
It's a lot of business we've talked about. It's
yeah,
good.
I know. Well,
That's
a
not
lot
what
of
I
it's
was
on
expecting.
here, which may or may not be great, but like. The other thing is, I think anyone that's listening to a podcast of such length is smart enough to know that business is what it is anyway. And it's not really like it's secrets that businesses cost money to run and like...
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect, but it has been a very business-like conversation, and I enjoy talking like that.
I like doing these. They're always different than what I anticipate them to be. For one reason or another, mostly because it's hard to know where the conversation's gonna go. But yeah, I think they're always something interesting, and like I do these all the time, and like I always stammer and stutter at the beginning of it and get lost a little bit. But it's like as soon as you get in the flow, it's super easy. It's just like talking to friends.
It is.
It's just a recorded conversation.
It has became easy to talk to you. Yeah.
Hopefully you've enjoyed doing this one. I'm
For sure.
gonna say thank you
for
doing it. Hopefully, it gives some people a little bit of insight into what they may or may not have already known about the park. Anyone that's coming through Youngstown check it out, stop in.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, we got a dude.
Talon. That's a local kid.
Shout out Talon. All right, well, we're gonna wrap it up. So thanks for checking out.
I'm good there too, man. Thank you.
Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. All right, guys. Thanks again. Well, not welcome. I'm dumb. Let's just try that again. I don't really care. Or not. You know what? Who cares? Thanks for checking out this episode. Appreciate it. That was episode 41. Like I said, I have one more of these planned, and it should be with Keystone Rampworks. So I'm doing that hopefully tomorrow, and we can get these cranked right out and move on to some different stuff. So let me know what you thought of this one. Make sure you're following the podcast. Subscribe wherever you're listening. YouTube, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, blah, 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 blah. There's plenty of places you could be listening. Spotify. Follow GrindWorks BMX at GrindWorks_BMX on Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. And at GrindWorks BMX without the underscore on Facebook, Mixer, YouTube, Anchor, blah, 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 TikTok, whatever. Wherever you can find it, just try it. We're probably there. Yeah, that's really it. I suck at these outros. I always kind of come to a head and a halt. So, all right. Later.